Hello, dog people, and welcome to another episode of the Rocker Dog Podcast, the only show that talks to musicians about their dogs and the wonderful impact they have on our lives. I'm your host, Tim Dill, shadowed by my golden doodle, Charlie, and today we have nothing but wagging tails in talking with Jen Razavi of the Bomb Pops, who just released her own album called Saw in Half back on April 28th, and this is her color-coordinated Rocker Dog.
Okay, well, this is Saloon. She is a 3-year-old German Shepherd Husky mix.
Okay. And does she have a last name? Is it McDunnough?
She does.
McDunnough? How do you pronounce it?
It's Saloon McDunnough.
Okay. And what's the significance of that?
Well, her first name is just a cowboy Western name. I really wanted to name her something cowboy, something Western. I actually thought about naming her Cowboy, even though she's a girl, but decided not to. And then I liked Bullet or Bandit, Banjo, but they're kind of common names, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I just was thinking of other Western things, and Saloon at first, you know, that's kind of weird. That's a cowboy bar / brothel.
Right.
But now that it's just associated with her rather than a cowboy bar, I think it's a really beautiful name. It kind of reminds me of Sarah or something. Yeah. And then McDunnough is a reference to Raising Arizona. So H.I. McDunnough.
Okay. I've seen that movie, but it's been a while. I can't remember whose character was that?
He's the main character.
Oh, that's Nicolas Cage? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So right off the bat, knowing what I know of you from Instagram and your music is you have a certain aesthetic. And when I saw you got the dog, immediately I was thinking, did that dog was part of the criteria that he had to meet the visual aesthetic of you and the Bomb Pops? Like, would you have gone for a dog if it had the hair of a golden retriever, or was honestly, any other color but black and white?
I really was looking for a dog to match the aesthetic, 100%. I think if I had met a dog that just melted my heart and we vibed, or if I was to find a dog, of course that wouldn't matter. But was looking. She's a pandemic puppy. I got her in June of 2020. She was born in April of 2020. And so I was looking online for dogs. I was really on a hunt for a dog at that point. So I was able to kind of put in the search criteria that I wanted. And really, I was looking for an intelligent breed. I didn't have a specific breed in mind. Labrador, type of retriever. Really started to focus in on German Shepherds, though. Australian Shepherds. Some kind of intelligent dog is all that I really knew that I wanted. And yes, black or white. Right. And yeah, I mean, I don't even know where to start with a pandemic puppy journey.
Well, let's go to how did you zero in on Saloon? How did you eventually come to find her?
Right. So I wanted a dog for a long time, but being a touring musician, it's a really difficult thing to do. When the pandemic happened, I just knew that it was going to be we all knew it was going to be a long time. And I felt like it was the perfect time to go ahead and get one, as so did everyone else in the United States. And so it really was difficult, though, at that point, because you couldn't go to shelters and visit dogs. You could, but you had to be on a list. I was on a wait list for some shelters, and the appointment was 2 months out to even go see a dog. And then I signed up for petfinder.com, adoptapet.com. I got one of the premium subscriptions. I think it was to Petfinder or Adopt a Pet. I don't remember which one. But by the time you could even click on a dog, it was already adopted. It just happened day after day after day. I started to notice that they would put up new listings at like 1 a.m. for some reason.
Right.
And so I would stay up, or let's be honest, I was up at that hours on those hours during the pandemic, and refresh and just wait for new listings to come up, and they would just be gone the moment that they went up. And originally I wasn't looking for a puppy. I wanted to adopt a dog that was full grown, anywhere, from 2 to 5 years old. I wanted to give, an older dog or an adult dog a second chance. Everyone really wanted the puppies. So I wasn't looking for puppies, but at some point I just started searching for puppies for all kinds of dogs. And I actually went and saw 2 other dogs during that time, but they both had really bad behavioral issues. And the criteria that I was looking for in a dog is I just wanted to have a dog that I could take with me anywhere.
Right.
Obviously, you can train and work with behavioral issues, but for me, just being a social person, I wanted to ensure that I would have a dog that I could trust around other people, around kids, around my friends. So it was pretty heartbreaking to meet those dogs. And then one of them I really, really vibed with, but the foster person was really great about letting me know that there was this incident. Someone came into her house and the dog had really showed some insane aggressive behavior. So then I kept looking on an Adopt a Pet on Pet Finder, and I was honestly pretty discouraged because these dogs were just going so quickly. And I was speaking to my aunt I live in Los Angeles. She lives in San Diego, and she is actually a dog person. And she's found over the years dogs for a lot of people in my family. And she was an advocate for me getting a dog even before the pandemic. She said, if you go on tour, I'll watch your dog. You need a dog.
Right.
It's the best kind of love you'll ever have as a dog. And so she made me feel really comfortable about getting a dog, knowing that when we do go back on tour, that she would watch her. So anyhow, I expressed to her that I was just so discouraged and these dogs are going so fast. And she said, you should try Craigslist, but you got to be careful because there's scams out there, people putting up puppies, they'll get one and they're really sick. Anyway, I kind of gave up. I just was like, I'm just going to give it a break. The right dog will come along when it comes along. I'm tired of looking every day and not being able to find anything. So she started looking for me on Craigslist, and she was looking in San Diego, and she called me one day. She sent me a listing. And then she called me and she said, you should just give them a call. You never know. And I said, I know by the time I call, these dogs are all going to be gone. And she said, just give her a call. So I called. It was a listing. It was 10 puppies, German Shepherd Husky mixes. And there was a photo of like 3 of them. And I called, and the lady said I was the first person to call, and I knew that I wanted a female dog. And I asked if there were any female puppies. She said there's 5 male, 5 female. And she said, if you come down today, you can have first pick of the females. And so I drove down right away.
Why a female?
I just knew that I wanted a big dog, and I did not want to deal with like a big dog red rocket.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm totally honest.
Say no more.
I want the big dog. I don't want to deal.
Yeah. Well, going back to the aesthetic, it would have fit the color scheme.
It's such an aesthetic thing. And also, I like having like a BFF gal pal to roll around with. And it's funny, when I went down to pick out the puppies, I really wanted an all black dog, just because of how much black that I wear. So, when I got down there, the lady who had the puppies asked, are you sure, do you want me to bring out all 10 of them or just the females? And as wonderful as it would be to have a pile of 10 puppies playing around with, I told her, I was like, I just bring out the females, because I was afraid that I'd find one of the males would have an aesthetic that I would love, and I would grab them. So I said, just bring me the females. And it's really hard because they were 4 weeks old, so you can't really tell the personality. There's no personality. They're just You can't do kind of the puppy tests that you would do and roll if you were, flip them over and see how they are. They're just little blobs, and you pull one away from the pack, and then they just like little magnets getting back to each other.
So
But
was it pretty random how you got Saloon, or how did Saloon show herself to be the one to be taken home?
well, I just chose her because of her markings. Because so the mother was a German Shepherd, and she was at the house. It was just some people that backyard bred
Yeah.
her. They were fine people. I don't think, but they were definitely breeding dogs to just make some quick cash. And it was this the mother, it was our first litter. She was 9 months old. She was a German Shepherd, and they bred her with a neighbor's Husky. And it's definitely something that now that I know so much more about, especially the breeds, both breeds, it wasn't really something that I researched to fully as I probably should have before I got her. I mean, she's wonderful, but just knowing, like, I don't know, just supporting the backyard breeding things. In a way, though, I know that I rescued her because I'm pretty sure a lot of these dogs just they're just in someone's yard somewhere,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that I really do think that I rescued her from being in a situation. But
well, I mean, full disclosure, we never make the judgment on this show, and I'm a victim of the same journey you are. I've got a doodle, and no doodles. I mean, there are doodles that end up in shelters, but we got them from a breeder, and in that time, from 5 years ago to where I am now with this podcast, it's like I get it. I get the rescue mission, and I'm all in for it. But it is a journey. It is a learning experience.
Yeah, and there's kind of something about it because I really just wanted to adopt a dog from a shelter. I wanted to go in and get a dog that was a few years old. That was always the vision I had for myself, getting a dog. And so, because we had one dog growing up, and we got him, he was older, and I was always brought up like, oh, you don't want to deal with the puppy phase and all of that. So I kind of wasn't even looking to go through the whole puppy phase. But I will say, back to the litter, when she brought the puppies out, it was really interesting because most of them looked either like very German Shepherd markings, so brown and black, or very Husky, kind of grays and whites and browns. And there were two that looked like little cows. And it was actually what she was in the photo that was on Craigslist. So that's she was the first puppy that I saw on the Craigslist ad. So I ended up getting her, and there was one that looked very similar to her, but the Saloon had a little wider white marking in her forehead that I don't know, it was so hard because they really didn't have much personality, and their eyes are still closed and wobbling around. But yeah.
And right off the bat, I know you have a quote in one of your posts that say, "I love her so deep in my bones already." Was that in the first 24 hours?
It was pretty insane. I remember the moment that once I picked her up, got her in the car, and my ex-boyfriend was with me at the time. He drove me down to pick her up, and he witnessed it. We just locked eyes. I felt her enter into my soul. Like, there was this moment because I didn't get her at 4 weeks. I got her at 8 weeks. So I went down and picked her out, and then waited till 8 weeks. They were good about, she was healthy. They got her all her shots, and she was just a perfect puppy. But when I picked her up at 8 weeks, getting in the car, she was in my lap, and she just looked into my eyes, locked eyes with me. And it was so instant. And she's never taken her eyes off me since. And we got home. I brought her home to my house, and my boyfriend stayed the night with me. And I had a little baby gate around a crate that was kind of like just all like a zone connected to my bed. And the first time I left her, so I got up to go to the restroom, and my boyfriend was there with her. She's tiny little puppy leaped over, like threw herself over the baby gate to try to get to me. And my boyfriend's like, "Oh my God, this is a problem. This dog is going to be inseparable from you." And it's so true. So yeah, she's just I don't know, we have such a wonderful relationship. And I think that that bonding experience of being with her every day during the pandemic was part of it. I mean, dogs bond with their owners, of course. But lucky to have that puppy experience and spend every single moment with her.
Yeah. Now, how was the puppy experience, since you did mention you were looking for an older dog? And I will commend you. I've noticed your training. You've done a wonderful job training the dog. It does all the basic stuff, and you were using the clicker and positive reinforcement, and she can do dog tricks. But going back to that reticence of going for a puppy, was the puppy experience good for you?
It was one of the best experiences of my life. I had no idea that that is something that I would be so into, and dog training. And we still do stuff almost every day. You know, it's kind of more just a lot of it's become practical stuff, but we're always it's a form of meditation for me, honestly, because you have to be so focused, and you are when you're in that zone and in that flow, you build the bond with the dog, and you feel so happy, and you just realize how intelligent and how just beautiful the relationship that you have is. And I noticed that like right away, immediately, like, you know, the day after I brought her home, just kind of started seeing what we could do. Obviously with puppies, you don't want to over stimulate them or stress them out with any training, but it's really fun for them. It's just a way for them to, you know, engage with you and bond with you. And I learned so much about myself. It's really weird. The psychology behind dog training and everything is like a puzzle. And you have to think about it a few steps ahead, and you have to be able to adjust, and you have to be able to take, you know, the techniques that you're taking from wherever you're dog training video or dog trainer that you're working with that you've learned, and apply them to your dog specifically. And once you know how they operate and you can apply that, the dogs can do anything. I think that it's the people that need the training, not the dogs. I really believe any dog can do anything that you need it to do. Obviously, some dogs are more, you know, intelligent, or some dogs have some behavioral issues. But if you're really willing to work with a dog, I think you can see results. And most people just don't do that with their pets, and they let them do whatever.
Yeah. Did you have a trainer, or did you do it all yourself?
Started with just YouTube videos, and then somebody that I knew sort of, I only met her one time. She reached out to me and she said, "Oh, you're doing such a great job with your puppy. It's really nice to see you like working with your dog. A lot of people get puppies and they don't do like half of what you're doing." And she offered to work with me. And so I did work with her for a few months. Would meet her like every other week. And I learned a lot from her. It was the biggest thing that I got out of that was the walking on a leash, and how to kind of live so that your dog isn't ruling your zone or your life.
Yeah.
Because some of those kind of things and techniques you can apply to anything. And so having walking being the one thing that we really focused on was so helpful, because you're working on that thing, which is a huge thing. And then you can apply what you're doing and that those techniques to a lot of other things. So that was really helpful. And then it got to a point where, you know, she even said, it's like, yeah, you don't really need me anymore. And a lot of things that I wanted to do, I can you could kind of figure out on your own, or I could Google things and work with it. But the basic knowledge is there, and you just have to, I think it's just being patient.
Yeah.
You know, it's amazing that some people don't have just like 5 minutes to spend with a dog every day, because you'll be able to see the improvement with it.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I applaud you, because there was a post back when you were actually training the dog that you acknowledged that she is going to be big.
Yeah.
And, you know, as the point you made earlier, she's going to be big, and you want her to be social as you're social. You want to take her around, be around people, kids, other dogs. So you did what everyone should do.
Yeah. I think having a big dog and taking them out places with you is different than having a little dog and taking them out with you. Little dogs get away with a lot more it's just people kind of expect it from them. Not that little dogs shouldn't be trained. I definitely think that they should, but with a big dog, it just can be a lot more scary if it has a big bark, if it is running around and getting excited in a place where it shouldn't be. It's going to make a bigger scene. And I'm so happy with her demeanor and her behavior. And she has a really deep understanding of what it is that I want from her in certain situations, in all situations. And the other thing is, I knew that I would be relying on other people to help me with her.
Right.
At some point when we went back to touring, my aunt did watch her for a tour, but my dad now watches her every time. And he was the typical dad meme where it's like, you get a dog, I'm not going to be watching your dog. That's fine. And I just said, okay, and I didn't ask him for about the first 2 years. And then I just said, hey, like, just try this, watch, see how awesome she is. And he loves having her now. And she stays with him, for a month at a time.
That's great.
Yeah.
Now, socially, do you have, there's another quote, you mentioned your dad and your aunt. You did say, thanks to my pack who encouraged me to make this move I've always wanted to make. Do you have a group of friends that have dogs? I mean, do you have like a friend pack and dog pack?
Yes, 100%. Before getting a dog, it was definitely my aunt was a huge, she really was the one who encouraged me to get a dog, and my cousin as well. But since having her, I've actually met and I have to give a shout out to my friends Taylor and Neil, because early on as a little puppy, they would watch her. And I have a friend named Alex who would watch her when she was a puppy. So yeah, just having people that you can rely on, that you can trust to watch your dog is so huge. But I have an amazing group of friends, women, that it's just kind of part of our everything. Not everything revolves around what we do with our dogs, but there's a lot of our daily stuff is like, let's go take the dogs out. Let's go here where we can take the dogs. Let's go work from this coffee shop because they allow dogs. Yeah. So it's really nice to have that. And back to it being like a meditation, having a dog is such a wonderful way to step outside and be in nature. And I probably wouldn't, I go outside more than I ever have in my life now that I have a dog, and going outside with friends and going on hikes, going on walks, just being present with the dogs. It's such a wonderful part of my life these days.
Yeah. Well, I bring up a lot that people, they call their dogs either their therapy dog or their emotional support dog. And just as you said, in so many ways, they offer, they help people get out of the house. They help people get fresh air, exercise, the list goes on and on.
Yeah. And again, I'm going to give some more shout outs, but my friend Rachel and her dog Willow. And then I have my friend Stephanie, her dog Jameson, my friend Taylor, her dog Jepson, another coworker named Tia and her dog Tucker. But yeah, it's just an amazing kind of group of people. I think that I would definitely be friends with them regardless, but there's an extra special kind of bond that we have being able to do things with our dogs. Yeah, it's really a wonderful part of my life right now. And I realize it in the moment. I think everybody has those moments where you're like, oh man, one day, this dog's going to be older, or my situation's going to change or something. And it's just really special what we have right now together.
Yeah. Now, is one of those dogs that you mentioned the black and white Great Dane in your photos?
Yes, that's Willow.
Okay. That's a good looking dog. That's a good looking big dog.
She really is. She's so gorgeous. Saloon and I used to get stopped on the street. A lot of people will be like, wow, it's such a beautiful dog. And then ever since Willow came into our life, Saloon's chopped liver. Everyone's stop Willow. And they're like, because she's like a mythical creature.
Yeah, I was going to say, size alone, she can't be ignored.
And she's so sweet. Saloon doesn't really care about any other people or other dogs. She's just kind of focused on me. And so if someone comes up and says hi, she really could care less. But Willow just wants to meet every single person and jump in their lap. And so she brings a lot of joy to people when they see her. The look on people's faces when they see that dog is pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's great. I know a couple of Great Danes, and they're just so funny. Gosh, they're so
They're
funny because
so
they seem to
goofy.
never grow into their bodies.
Exactly. I think Willow's 5. She seems like a puppy. She acts like a puppy. And the way that dog tries to sit in your lap and curl up in your lap, must have no idea how large it is.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Well, I wind up every show with what I call the zoomies, and that's just the last 5 quick questions. So let's go there. Question 1 is, do you kiss Saloon on the mouth?
I don't. My friend Taylor will always let her like lick her mouth, and she'll share. She's gives her like a lick of her ice cream, and
Right.
I see this dog, what she picks up on the ground, the way she cleans herself. I'm sorry, but that's a no. I do kiss her on her little snout, on between her eyes there, on the top of her nose, and
Yep.
she always has a red lipstick smooch kiss mark on her face, but not on the mouth. No.
Okay. Well, we've heard that answer before, where I know where that mouth has been. So
Yeah.
understood. I don't share that opinion, but understood.
Okay.
Question 2 is, given your occupation, you're a musician, you're touring, you're hanging out with, I'm looking for a shameless name drop when I ask this. Has Saloon licked anyone famous?
Has she licked anyone famous? She's hung out with quite a few punk rockers in the day. I mean, I'll never forget beginning of the pandemic being over at Fat Mike's house from NoFX a lot.
Mhm.
He has this great property. In Los Angeles. He had a big tennis court and a big yard and a pool. And so I'd spent a lot of time over there with her when she was a puppy. And yeah, she'd be sitting on his lap, just hanging out. And I remember she got into a giant bag of fertilizer at his house.
Oh my
And
God.
yeah, and I never forget seeing her face pop out of the bag of fertilizer and looking at me. And then she threw up all
Oh no.
night.
Oh
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. So she's definitely hung out with some punk rockers, but she's been in the studio a couple times when she was a puppy, obviously not when there's anything too loud going on, or just have her,
hmm
engineer's room. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's just some punk rockers. No one
Okay.
too famous.
We'll take that. We'll take that. Question 3 is, does she have a theme song? And when I say theme song, it could be, do you sing her a song often? Is there a song that was popular during the time that you got her that makes you think of her, or anything around that?
I'm always singing to her nonstop. I wish I could think of on the top of my head. There's not an hour of the day that goes by probably that I'm not singing to her. Whatever she's doing, she gets a little song to go with it, And yeah.
Okay. Question 4 is, do you have a dog voice? Do you use a dog voice to speak to her, like a high pitched or a baby voice or whatever it may be? Or on the flip side, do you give her a voice? Do you personify her with a certain personality?
Yeah, she's always talking like this, but she just has to go do her things, and she's just gotta go eat her food, and there she goes. I
That's a
don't
good
know
one.
why.
That's great. Do you use that a lot around your friends?
Yeah, I find myself doing it like only when the dog is around. I don't do
Yeah.
it, but if I'm just observing her, or there she goes. Oh, it's time to go eat.
And do
I
your
think
friends do the same? Do your friends have dog voices for their dogs?
I don't. I think Rachel does with Willow, with the Great Dane. I mean, Rachel has a British accent already, so
Oh, that's great. Perfect.
so Willow's definitely British, but yeah.
Okay.
She has a lot of funny names for Willow. She calls her the gooey
Nice.
after a gooey duck clam. I don't know.
That'd be a good name, just outright gooey.
I know. Well, basically, it's gooey is all we call her. I think I call her gooey more than I call her Willow.
Okay, last but not least, is there a dog organization that you want to shout out? This could be a charity, this could be a groomer, a dog walker, anything you want. Just someone to shine a spotlight on for doing good by you and your dog.
Yeah, so there's a couple of people that I follow on Instagram, and the shout outs I'd have to give are to my dog pack, Rachel and Stephanie, and Taylor with the dogs. That's definitely a huge one. But I will say, and I don't know this person personally, but there's a guy, Larry Crone, Krohn, and don't even know how I stumbled upon his page, but because I do use an e-collar with her for her recall. I just think it's such an important tool for being off leash and safely with your dog.
Right.
And there's a lot of misconceptions around it. And I think he does a wonderful job of explaining the scenarios where this is like a life-saving tool. And if you have your dog off leash and it doesn't know how to come when you call it in any situation, then, you're putting your dog at risk. So right. I think he's just a great person to learn about the e-collar from, as well as there's another guy, Tom Davis. I don't know him personally either, but they both, a lot of how I got into thinking and using e-collar for safety, I learned through their channels. And then another one is his name is Evan Nolte, and his canine den mother _ canine. And I don't know how I followed them either. He trains people how to work medically on canine working dogs and military dogs, like special forces, canine medic stuff. And it's just really interesting. So there's a lot of safety dog tips that I've learned through that page as well.
Okay.
But yeah, I've talked to him on Instagram too, and he's great. I just like his content. Nothing that applies. A lot of it isn't stuff that applies to me, but it's just kind of fascinating, the military dogs and working dogs and stuff.
Yeah. Well, they use a lot of German Shepherds. I know they just had it was like Military Canine Day, like last week or the week before, that I give a shout out to. But okay, I'll definitely check those out. Those are, sometimes I know these places and sometimes I don't, but I think I only know Tom Davis of the list you shared. So thank you for that. We'll check that out, and hopefully the audience will check it out. Rolling into the summer, is there anything you want to promote that you or your band are going to be up to?
Yeah, I just released some new music. My first stuff that I've done. I don't like saying solo album, but I guess that's what it is. Okay. And so that's been really fun to get out into the world. It's really different from the band. Been doing a lot of touring acoustic, and Bomb Pops have some really great shows coming up with No Effects for their final tour. And yeah, so active with the Bomb Pops and also branching out and doing some solo stuff as well. It's been really fun.
Okay. What's the best place to follow you at and keep abreast of what you're doing?
My Instagram, Jen_pop, and Saloon has one as well, which I've just realized, I think that Saloon content is the best content, but she doesn't get as great as engagement as I do on my own page, but she does really well on her own page. Okay. So that's Saloon.McDunnough.
All right. Well, thank you so much for giving me your time and introducing me to Saloon. And I'd love to hear all about her. And I wish you all the best this summer and beyond.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
It's been my pleasure. All right. A big thank you to Jen Razavi for coming on the show and giving us the rundown on her dog Saloon. The shout-outs Jen elected to give went to retired special agent and dog trainer Larry Crone, who can be found on Instagram at Larry Crone, where you can find links to his YouTube channel and website. Tom Davis, who People magazine calls a dog's best friend, travels the world helping dogs achieve their full potential. His Instagram is Tom Davis, where you'll find links to his online and in-person training, merchandise, and more. Lastly, there's Evan Nolte, who is on Instagram as denmother_canine and is a former war dog medic who now teaches his casualty care courses to military, first responders, and law enforcement agencies. Speaking of Instagram, we are on it as well, at Rocker Dog Podcast, and have pictures and videos of our guests and their dogs. We are also on Apple Podcasts, so hop on over there and give us a rating, leave a review, and subscribe to the podcast so we'll be waiting on your phone with a new episode every Friday, such as the one queued up for next week with a singer-songwriter who prefers his dog to do most of his self-promotion on social media. So please make a plan to join us for that. All right, thanks for lending us your ear. We'll see you next week.